Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel and thanks for logging on. If you enjoy these videos, do me a favor and subscribe to our YouTube channel right here at Watchbox Reviews. I'd really appreciate it, and I'd be able to send videos like this to your inbox as soon as tomorrow. If you like this watch, you can buy it on thewatchbox.com. Buy, trade, and sell luxury watches on thewatchbox.com. Today we are discussing the original version of the Grand Seiko spring drive automatic Snowflake. This is the SBGA011, the model launched at Basel 2010 that continued in production until superseded by the 2017 dial, whereby Seiko as a standalone was removed from 12 o'clock. Some prefer the new look, some prefer the slightly cleaner and more traditional SBGA011 shown here. And since I don't have a video of this specific dial variant, here goes. Dimensionally, it's identical to the new SBGA211. The only difference is the signature on the dial. The watch is 41 millimeters in diameter, made of titanium, and 12.7 millimeters thick with a generously sloped case flank and conical bezel. It easily slides underneath the tight sleeve or cuff. You can see that there are strap tool holes in the lugs, so you can quickly throw this watch on a strap and you'll find lug to lug it's 48.6 millimeters. But if we include the titanium end links of the bracelet, you find that the actual width across the wrist is a more robust 51.9 millimeters. So this is not a dainty watch, even though in hypoallergenic titanium, it is exceptionally light on the wrist. This is a very comfortable timepiece. Grand Seiko does exceptional things with the faceting and polish of the case, and that's echoed in the bracelet itself, which features elements you might expect from the likes of Audemars Piguet. Note contrasting use of satin and polish, bevels that are executed pretty much using eye and hand pressure by Grand Seiko artisans, and you'll note satin finish on the flanks. The timepiece did have a retail below $6,000, which explains the use of pin sleeves here, but that's pretty much the only compromise in the entire watch. If nothing else, they are tough and reliable. The clasp is secure and fixed with triggers, so when you pull the triggers, you pop it open. When you pull the triggers not, you can't pop it open. That's the nice thing about this clasp. It's not a cheap clamshell, it's not friction fit, you get real security and integrity about the closure mechanism and a low profile. You'll also note small elements receive incredible levels of attention to detail. Note the media blasted interior of the crown recess and the high polish of the Grand Seiko logo itself. Absolutely no facet, curve, or crease overlooked. I talked a little bit about laying down polish on the bevels of the bracelet and doing it with hand pressure and the eye, and that's how the Zaratsu case polish, which frankly my fingerprints rather defile, but that's how the Zaratsu case polish is laid down. Essentially flawless and very close to what is done to black polish Swiss movements. You can see that the bevels as well as the polished sheer sides of the case, both executed more or less by the artisan's feel and yet millimetrically, even micrometrically even from side to side. Not easy to do. You'll also note the romance in the case form, as there is so much more complexity of finish and of line than you'll find in mass-produced Breitling, Rolex, and Omega timepieces. Satin finish on the top, like the bracelet, there is contrast to add character. The dial is a sensation on this watch. I'm going to give us a bit more aperture now that we're close and the watch is off the wrist. But you can see that the texture is somewhat rusticated and a little bit chaotic, and that's by design. Snowflake is not just a nickname for the watch. That's actually the name for the watch coined by its creators, who work in the Shinsu Watch Studio in Shiojiri, Japan, in Nagano Prefecture, where they have long cold winters and snowdrifts that pile up outside the windows of the studio actually have the same texture as the dial, and thus one recapitulates the look of the other. It is truly the Snowflake. This is no accident, and it's not just a nickname. That's from the people who designed it. Diamond polished and hand-laid faceted hour indices, as you can see. They are faceted with a combination of satin and polish, exquisitely executed. You'll note the same level of attention to detail lavished on the facets and the polish of the hands at center. The second's hand, sweeping in its seamless, stepless spring drive fashion, is proper oxidized, heat-blued steel, not chemically dyed. There's a wonderful little cut, let's get super close now, but there's a wonderful little cut into the dial at about 7 o'clock that gives you the ability to read the 3-day power reserve, and you'll note that there's an aperture with a full polished frame around the date. Everything about this dial is upscale. Now, the dial itself requires 6 separate steps from stamping to varnishing to create, so it's a miniature work of art in its own right. If you thread out the crown, the watch is 100 meters water resistant. You gain access to the Grand Seiko manufacturer spring drive caliber 9R65. What is it? Well, it's an automatic winder with 3 days of power reserve, hacking or stop seconds, a quick set for rapidly cycling the date, and because it is spring drive, there is no battery, there is no capacitor, there's only a mainspring that bears the energy, wound by the rotor or the crown, and then there's a mechanical drivetrain, a mechanical link between the spring, the train, and the hands, and then there's this unidirectional regulating wheel. What happens is the spring turns the wheel. As the wheel rotates, it generates an induced electrical current, which wakes up a quartz oscillator, which regulates a back EMF or an opposing electromagnetic force that resists the force of the spring turning the wheel. In conjunction with the quartz oscillator, and again, no batteries, no capacitors, the system will self-regulate, speeding up or slowing down that unidirectional wheel to ensure that the watch runs accurate to plus or minus 15 seconds per month. And look at that hand. There are no steps, there are no jumps. It's not beats per second, it is simply a continuum. By the way, 15 seconds of deviation per month, compare that to the Swiss chronometer standard of +6, -4 per day, and you'll realize that this watchmaker assembled lifetime serviceable product is not just a true mechanical watch at heart, but it's also a quartz movement in its brain. Heart and head in equal measure, or perhaps I should say right brain and left brain all in a single case. This is a tour de force, and if you're looking for this technology anywhere else, you're going to be hard-pressed to find it. Piaget did its best to imitate spring drive, and frankly, the results were halting, incomplete, and largely forgotten. This is effectively a Seiko and Grand Seiko exclusive. See this first-generation Snowflake dial and make it yours on our website.